And we're back here on CJAD 800. Let's welcome Andrew Scheer onto the program. He's House Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Hi, Mr. Scheer. Welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Great to chat.
Okay, so let's talk about your reaction to the debate last night. I want to play some audio here of Mark Carney answering questions post-debate, okay? And it's getting a lot of attention this morning because I think people are going into receipts. So let's have a listen to this snippet first. Mark Carney being asked by a journalist from the Globe and Mail about Brookfield Asset Management. Have a listen.
You were the vice chairman at Brookfield Asset Management prior to
the chair.
I was the chair. Sorry. In the fall, they moved their head office from Toronto to New York. Did you approve of that decision? And what does this say about your commitment to growing Canada's economy and betting on Canada as for now?
Okay. So two things. I'll just correct a few factual things. One, I was chair of Brookfield Asset Management. I ceased to be chair on the 15th, I think, of January when I announced for leadership.
So that's a snippet there of what happened post-debate. Andrew, let me ask you about what your party is circulating this morning with regards to just where Mark Carney was when that decision was made.
Well, we're circulating the truth. And Mark Carney was caught in a lie. Mark Carney lied to Canadians last night. He is a liar. And it's a pretty big lie. He was chair of a Canadian company while he was advising Justin Trudeau on the economy. And he determined that his own advice and his own policies was so bad for the Canadian economy that he moved the head office to New York. That happened back in October, and it was reported publicly on November 1st. And he stepped down January 15th. So that's just wrong. And he's trying to cover up the fact that he made a decision to move jobs and investments to the United States. And this is a big deal because right now we're facing a U.S. president who's trying to take away jobs and investment from Canada, whether it's through tariffs or through other means. He's aggressively going after production and manufacturing and investments in Canada. And Mark Carney is going out there pretending like he can deal with Donald Trump when just a few months ago, after Donald Trump was already making it clear that he was going to take measures against Canada, Donald Trump was vocal about that during his campaign. Mark Carney was helping Donald Trump move jobs to the U.S., and then he just got caught in a lie. It's disgraceful.
So I have to ask you because, there are a lot of people who are trying to link your leader, right, Pierre Poilievre, to Donald Trump at the same time. Clearly, you're trying to make that link here. And I'm looking at polling. It seemingly is resonating with at least some Canadians when you look at recent polls showing a tightening between the Conservatives and the Liberals. Why don't we tackle that? What do you say to someone who says, no, it's not Mark Carney that's got these ties. Pierre Poilievre is the one that's too close with Donald Trump.
Let's just take a look at actions. Pierre Poilievre has been fighting to keep jobs and investments in Canada. He's announced a bring it home tax cut to bring to leave more money in Canadians' pockets and also to attract jobs and investments. It was Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau who said no to our allies like Germany and Korea coming and asking to buy our LNG. Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau told them no, making us more dependent on the United States. And now we have Mark Carney getting caught lying about the fact that he, on his own initiative, with nobody put a gun to his head, they just moved their head office to the United States. So when you look at their track record, Pierre Poilievre has been fighting to keep jobs and investments here in Canada, to stand up for Canadian workers, to diversify our trading relationships with other countries. Mark Carney and the Trudeau Liberals have made us more dependent on the United States, and Mark Carney himself personally moved jobs and investments to the U.S. so he could make more money personally. So I will stack those two records up for the Canadian voter any day of the week.
Aside from the records, and I'll say this frankly with you, Andrew, that I get notes from listeners often, and what they don't like, well, maybe it's not has to do with decisions, but it's on language and tone. And they view the tone of Pierre Poilievre and some of the language that's used, and they make that connection with Donald Trump. What do you say to a listener who is genuinely concerned about those connections being made tone-wise, language-wise, on both sides of the border?
I look at that and I see that happening with the Liberals. You know, the divisive rhetoric that the Liberals used to use is very negative. Our leader has a positive vision for the country. He wants to make Canada the freest, most prosperous country. If you look at Pierre's speeches, it's full of hope and lifting people up and empowering people. I believe that is a media narrative that's trying to be constructed because the policies that the Liberals have been imposing on Canadians is causing the misery. The drug overdose crisis, the crime wave that's plaguing our communities, that happened as a direct result of Liberal decisions to legalize hard drug use taxpayer funds to put opioids on the street, and to to reduce penalties for dangerous and repeat offenders. The inflation and interest rate crisis that took such a big bite out of workers' paychecks all was a result of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals printing billions of dollars of money out of thin air. The challenges facing Canadians are a direct result of Liberal policies. Mark Carney will just keep doubling down on the Trudeau approach. And I know that many in the media would like to have a debate about anything other than policies and anything other than how Canadians' lives will be changed. But I encourage your listeners to go look at Pierre's speeches where he talks about restoring the promise of Canada, making sure that young people can have a better quality of life than their parents. It's full of positive, uplifting, and hopeful messages.
We're with Andrew Scheer, who's House Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada. Let me get your reaction to last night in general, because there wasn't just Mark Carney on the stage, but it certainly seems like you're operating under the assumption that Carney's the guy, and all of your efforts are targeted towards Carney. Is that a fair assessment? Is that how you are looking at it, and is that how you're operating?
Well, first, my reaction on the debate was that Mark Carney is trying to pull off another massive scam. You know, not only is he trying to lie to Canadians about his position on the carbon tax, not only is he lying about when he decided to move jobs and investments to the United States, but he's trying to make people forget that he was actually Justin Trudeau's economic advisor. And, you know, he said things last night about how terrible the policies have, that the economic record of the Trudeau Liberals is causing pain to Canadians. But he left out the fact that he was there holding the pen with Justin Trudeau. So, you know, he came across as very out of touch, you know, a typical I know better than you elitist who's going to come in and plan our lives and plan the economy. That approach didn't work. Now, I'm not going to speculate as to who might be leading in the Liberal race. I don't know how the average Liberal makes up their mind when they want to select a leader. Certainly looks like the media is, the mainstream parliamentary press gallery is all in for Carney. Consider this, you know, Christy Clark was caught lying about whether or not she ever held a Conservative membership, and the media covered that extensively. And here we have Mark Carney, who just got caught on a massive lie about moving his company to New York City. We'll see if that gets the same treatment from the parliamentary press gallery.
With respect, like I covered ad nauseum today, like we covered in our first hour of the show. I'm covering it here, you know. So I'm kind of like, you know, when I'm actively doing it with you on air and you're calling out the media, I'm sort of like, well, hold on a second. That's what I'm doing right now.
I said we'll see it. I'm referring to the parliamentary press gallery, but we'll see. You know, certainly from my perspective, it doesn't. Mark Carney's had a lot of has not faced the same level of scrutiny as some of the other opponents in the race. So we'll see. I guess that's a long way of saying I'm not going to speculate. Certainly he's getting a lot of attention. So, you know, and he's the one that's spouting falsehoods. So it's our job to hold that to account. I should also mention something that Mark Carney hasn't come clean on is his ethics disclosure. He is refusing to disclose his assets and investments. He is going to be prime minister. He will have 120 days of being able to govern without disclosing to Canadians what his conflicts of interest might be and where his which assets he sold. And he's refusing to comply with standard normal disclosure practices.
So let me ask you, let me let you hear how Mark Carney responds to that, right? Because he was asked about those disclosures, and he responded yesterday with an attack of his own against Pierre Poilievre. Have a listen.
Pierre Poilievre hasn't ever bothered to get his security clearance. I've already, during this leadership campaign, filled out my forms. It wasn't that hard to do, I have to say. and put them in, and I fully expect to get it in the near future. This is the kind of irresponsibility at a time when our country is under threat that we cannot afford. We cannot afford a leader like Pierre Poilievre. Let me finish by pointing out one other thing. Who's the worst person to stand up to Donald Trump? It's Pierre Poilievre. He worships the man. He uses his language. He's not the right person for our country at this crucial time.
So what do you say to that? Obviously, you've had some shots in at Carney, but I guess that's the response from Carney's camp. What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, if he's talking about how easy it is to fill out some forms, then why doesn't he apply that to the ethics disclosure? He just proved that his excuse is bogus. Look, our leader, Pierre Poilievre, is a privy councillor. He served in cabinet. He's already fulfilled the security requirements to be in those positions. What the Liberals want to have happen is they want to be able to give the leader of the opposition a briefing that he will then have to stay silent about. And so this is a total red herring. They're conflating two different issues that have no real connection. And again, what's important for someone who's about to be coronated as Prime Minister of the country, with all the awesome authority that comes with that, the ability to pass regulations, the ability to sign contracts with companies, and he won't even tell Canadians what his own interests are. So we would be kept in the dark. If he starts governing for the first few days and weeks after he's elected, he'll have 120 days to make all kinds of decisions before he has to disclose his assets. So he can't just wave this away with an attack, a bogus attack on his own. And again, he pointed out the phoniness of his defense on the ethics by saying it's just a few forms to fill out. Well, that's exactly right. You know, he could probably go to his accountant and have his accountant type up the ethics disclosure and be done in a couple hours. But he won't do it because he wants to keep that hidden from Canadians.
Mr. Scheer, Andrew, I got to leave it there. I want to thank you so much for hopping on this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Andrew Scheer, House Leader of the Conservative Party of Canada.